What's happening, everybody? Boy Big Brando, and today I want to talk to you guys about what could possibly happen to you if you tried to sell trademark logos. Now, as most of you guys know, I did an interview with Nick from A&N Customs months ago. What ended up happening was we did that on Instagram Live, and we tried to save the footage, but when I was trying to edit it down, I was running into a ton of issues because whenever you screen capture something, it's recorded at a different frame rate, and when I try to put it into Adobe Premiere, the frame rate was so messed up that the audio was really slowed down, and when I speed the audio up, then the video speeds up at the same time. It was a bunch of headaches for myself. So what I did was I reached out to the homie Nick and I said, hey, is it possible for me to just tell your story through video form? I'll post a picture of the homie Nick and me right here. And then that's basically how the interview went down, but I wanted to tell his story on what happened to him. So like I said, months ago, I seen the homie Nick on Instagram. You can follow him at A&N Customs, but he posted something very interesting that when I seen his story, I reached out to him right away and I said, hey, I need to get you on my channel so you could explain what happened to you. So the homie Nick, what he has is a Cricut cutter and he has a heat press, and he was kind of just doing a lot of different things. He was making mugs, he was doing decals, he was making t-shirts, he was kind of all over the place, but he was putting his Cricut to good use. Now, business was doing pretty good. He had an Etsy shop and he was also selling on Facebook Marketplace. Now, when we're talking, he said that sales would come in, you know, every now and then. It wasn't nothing crazy and it really wasn't booming the way he thought, but he still kept grinding and was getting, you know, a sell here, sell there, a cup here, decals here, and he was kind of just moving along at that pace for like the last year. So he said he was advertising on Facebook Marketplace, like, check this out, I made this Rams t-shirt, I made this Dodgers t-shirt, and he had a few different sports team logos on t-shirts that he was advertising on Facebook Marketplace. Now, he said on his Etsy shop, every now and then when he would post something like that, Etsy would take it down because of infringing on a registered trademark, like let's say the Dodger logo, or let's say like the Laker logo or something like that. So he would upload it there, Etsy would end up taking it down and telling him you can't sell that kind of stuff. So he was putting that stuff up on Facebook Marketplace, and it would be like, here's a Rams t-shirt I just made, order through here, or here's a Dodger t-shirt that I made, you can order through here. Now, just to backpedal a little bit, Nick said that he was buying these SVG files from somebody on Etsy. So somebody on Etsy was selling the trademark logos, like Dodger logo or the Laker logo, for, you know, $1 to $5, whatever it is, and he was actually buying the SVG file from somebody on Etsy. So he thought he was cool because he paid for the SVG file of that logo, and then he was printing the t-shirts and stuff like that using the same file that he purchased off of Etsy. So he has these shirts on the Facebook Marketplace, and a lady messages him and says, I want to buy 1 or 2 shirts, one with the Laker logo and one with the Rams logo, something like that. So he knocks out the order and then ends up meeting up with this lady's brother. So the lady emails Nick and says, you know what, my brother's gonna come pick up the shirt from you, is that cool? Nick was like, all right, that's cool, not a problem. So they meet up, they do the transaction, he hands over the 2 t-shirts, he gets the money, everything is all good. So he gets back on Facebook Marketplace and he's selling more shirts and he's kind of just moving along, and then maybe a week or 2 later, the lady hits him up again, but this time she hits him up for like a big order of like 40 t-shirts or something like that. And this big 40 t-shirt order is something around like, I want 10 Dodger logos on this one, I want 10 Rams logos on this one, and I want, so it's all trademark logo t-shirts, but the order was for 40 t-shirts. So Nick's thinking, oh damn, 40 t-shirts, this is cool, they agree on a price, everything's good, he knocks them out. And then when it comes time to deliver the t-shirts, the lady says the same thing, my brother's gonna come pick up these shirts and meet up at the same spot and do all this. Now, the day that they're supposed to meet up, Nick walks downstairs because they're meeting up at his apartment building. So he walks downstairs with his kid in one hand, t-shirts in the other hand, and he's ready to meet up with the girl's brother. So the girl's brother comes up, Nick's right there with his t-shirts, with his baby, hands the t-shirts, the guy hands the cash, and then Nick notices an undercover cop car drive by and pull up right in front. So Nick's kind of like, you know, sketched out, but he's thinking like, oh man, is that for me or is that for you? So he jokingly asks the dude, hey, is that undercover here for you? And the dude just starts to back up, and then the cop gets out of the undercover cop car, approaches Nick and tells him he's busted for selling trademark logos and infringing on these trademarks. So now Nick is kind of confused. He's just like, oh man, what the hell's going on? He still has his baby in his hand, and the cop is now asking a ton of questions. So basically what happened, just to kind of stop the story a little bit, is this person that Nick was dealing with he was pretending to be a lady online, and then he was saying that the brother was going to pick up the shirts, but he was actually the brother. So he's pretending to be the lady. Then he goes up, meets with Nick, does the transaction. The first one goes smooth, so then he orders the bigger one on the back end, but this time he brings the police with him to do some sort of like undercover sting operation on the homie Nick. Now you got to remember that Nick paid for these SVG files, so he's under the impression that everything's all good and he's not in trouble because he physically paid somebody on Etsy for those trademark logos, and he just thought, all right, I paid for them and I'm all good. So now the cops are there, and the cops are questioning him and talking to him and just letting him know what's going on. So that guy that he was dealing with was a private investigator that a lot of these big companies hire to look on Etsy, look on Facebook Marketplace, and just look all over the internet for people infringing on trademarks. So in this case, it could have been the MLB, NFL, NBA, Disney, whoever hired this dude to look and scour the internet, found Nick's page, and actually went through with a few transactions and caught Nick red-handed exchanging money for t-shirts for a logo that he had no permission on actually printing and selling for himself. Now, as most of you guys know, if you're dealing with any kind of trademark logo, you have to license that logo from the owner. A lot of times people think, oh man, I'm just finding this on Google, I'm gonna put it up for sale. You know, I could cut it out with my cutter, I could print it out on my Sublimation printer and press it up and get going, and that's how you get busted. For anybody that has the means to reproduce anything from home, you have a responsibility to uphold the law. You know what I mean? So when it comes to using registered trademarks, when it comes to using any kind of logo that you do not own, and that's a registered trademark, and you reproduce it from home and sell it for some sort of monetary value, or you just reproducing something, that is a bad look. Now, a lot of times people think, oh man, nobody's even gonna say anything about this because I'm a small shop, I'm on Etsy, I'm on Facebook Marketplace, I'm only selling on Instagram through like PayPal or Venmo, nobody's ever gonna bust me. Well, these big companies are hiring people just like this private investigator to look on the internet to find people just like you. Back to the story. So the cop now is telling Nick, hey, this guy was hired by these companies, obviously you're selling their trademark logo for some sort of monetary value, and you do not own the rights to these trademark logos. This is why you're in trouble. So they do a police report, Nick writes some sort of report, and then they're telling him, what else do you have in your house? What other trademark logos are you selling? So now they're threatening to take Nick's heat press, his vinyl cutter, his laptop, and all of this stuff, but Nick is complying with everything the cop is saying and everything is all good. So then what ends up happening is the cop is saying, well, the private investigator is going to take this to the DA, you know, move forward after that. This is a few months ago when this happened, and then when I talked to Nick, Nick was just saying that he hasn't heard back from the private investigator or the DA or the cop or anything. So as far as we know right now, no big legal action took place, but what did happen is it let Nick know now not to be doing that kind of stuff, right? So there are people out there that are hiring these guys to make sure that nobody's out here selling stuff. So say like you make Disney cups or something like that. Obviously, you know, the little Mickey head, ears, Disneyland, all that stuff is trademarked. And if you start selling all kind of stuff, whether you're making a ton of money or a little bit of money, if you are selling anything trademarked to Disney, Disney's hiring people like this to shut you down. Now, I'm part of a lot of different Disney Facebook groups. Like when I was selling the churro shirt, I joined a lot of these groups. A lot of these groups have crafters in them. You know, they have crickets and cameos, and basically they're making decals for cars with Disney heads on them. I mean, Mickey Mouse heads, and doing all of this stuff, and all of their Etsy shops slowly get shut down. So you see them booming for like 2 weeks, and then they fall off the Facebook group and they're no longer selling all that stuff. And that's because there's people like who busted Nick that are doing the same exact thing for Disney. So if Disney's doing it, you know, sports teams are doing it, all of that stuff but because crafters now can buy a Cricut from Joann's or Michael's for like $200, and they can start creating stuff from home. And a lot of times people just think, oh man, I could get away with it because I'm only doing this, I'm only making one or two, I'm gonna use this Jordan logo on here, oh I just googled this Nike logo, so I'm gonna cut that out, put that on a shirt, so I don't gotta spend $30 for the Nike shirt, I'm just gonna be making it for myself. By all means, that's illegal, that's how you get busted. And you'd be dumb to think, oh, I'm just gonna do this, nothing will happen to me. Obviously Nick is very, very small time and he still got busted. So please learn from Nick's experience. And I'm sorry I couldn't post up the actual footage of our interview. It's just editing nightmare for myself. And if you caught it on Instagram when we went live, then obviously you've seen the whole thing and you heard this story. But I appreciate you, Nick, for even sharing your story with me and allowing me to share it with my people. Please learn from Nick's experience. Do not get caught up this way, because the cop might not be nice the next time, or it might be something even crazier on the other end of that. So if you do own any kind of vinyl cutter and heat press and you have the ability to create from home, do it smartly. Do not infringe on any trademarks. Do not fall into this same trap, because I don't want nobody that watches me to get busted, and then on top of that they're gonna be like, oh well, I didn't know. Well, this is me informing you, the homie Nick from A&N Customs. You can follow him on Instagram, DM him, ask him all the questions of what went down if you want a better clarification. I think he's gonna put out a video of his own. I'm letting you guys know to inform you guys. This is what's going on in this small community of people creating from home. We have a lot of small businesses. Etsy's a marketplace where you could kind of sell whatever you want, and once you get on there and you're making stuff and you feel like, all right, I bought these SVG files so I should be all right, just know that you're not all right. If you're not licensing that trademark logo from the owner of that logo, you're gonna be in trouble. You know what I mean? So please take this warning. Make sure you don't fall into that same trap. All right, appreciate you guys. Sorry for the long wait on this video, but if you watch the vlog, you could see what the issue is. When it wasn't working, I just gave up and it said, forget it, I'm just gonna record a video explaining the story. All right, if you want to follow me on Instagram, check me out at Big Brando TV, and if you don't, by all means, it's cool. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys on next one, man. Peace.